Once upon a time, there was a soldier, a fiercer, more loyal soldier than ever was. He was always in the front. He was always crying out, "For the king, for the king." He lost a finger here. He lost an eye. He lost his nose, but he carried on fighting. But he got older. And one day he lost 4 of his toes, including his big toes, and he could only limp and he couldn't really keep up. And the king said, "You're no good as a soldier now, go home." "I want to fight, but you can't fight, just go home." "Well, what will I live off? Will I have a pet?" "Of course you went to the pension, you can't fight now, go home, go away." And he was dismissed from the service. And what was an old soldier with half a nose, all a bit deformed, and rather angry and cross, and not used to the ways of the world to do? Well, who gives to an old soldier? No one gives to an old soldier, so the old soldier has to take. And he was pretty cross and angry at the world, and he let it be known as he tried to work out what to do. Now, one evening he came across a little cottage in a wood, and he thought he'd go and see if they'd give him anything, and if they didn't, and they didn't look too strong, he'd see what he could take. So he knocked at the door, and an old lady answered it, and he rubbed his hands. Can you give bed and board to an old soldier?" He said. "Now, who gives to an old soldier? I'll tell you who gives to an old soldier. A witch, for she was a witch." "Yes, I'll give you bed and board if you'll dig my garden tomorrow." And he laughed to himself because he thought, "I'll take the bed and the board, but in the morning I'll walk off with anything that's worth having in the house to boot." So he ate. He didn't eat that well, but he ate something and he fell asleep. The next morning, to his surprise, he found himself digging the garden. He wasn't sure how it happened, but he dug and he dug and he dug and he dug. At the end of the day, he was very tired and very hungry. And the witch said, "Yes, well, maybe you can have bed and board again tonight. Tomorrow you will chop my wood." He thought he was tired and needed somewhere to sleep and something to eat, and he was certainly not going to chop the wood. But the next day, what do you know? He spent the day chopping and chopping and chopping. He was tired. "You did a good job of chopping the wood. Tomorrow you'll clean out the pigs." Well, he definitely wasn't going to clean out the pigs. But he was tired and was hungry and didn't really seem to have the choice. So he ate his meal, and the next day he cleaned out the pigs. And this went on for quite a while, and it was not any fun. Then one day she said, "Today I dropped my blue light down the well. You will go and get it." He looked down the well, and it was a long way down, and he didn't really fancy it. He said, "Why don't you go down and I'll do the rope and let you down and pull you up in the bucket?" And she said, "No, you get in the bucket right now, you little man." And you know what? This soldier who had killed hundreds, who had battled all over the place, he just did what the witch told him. And she let him down to the bottom of the well, and he picked up the blue light. But something sort of changed in him, perhaps when he was holding the blue light. And he thought he wasn't necessarily going to carry on doing what the witch told him. Now, you may be thinking that he was not the cleverest of men, and I suspect you are right. So unfortunately, he started to argue with the witch when he got to the top and say he wasn't going to give her the blue light. Now, I think he should have got out of the bucket first, because after this had gone on for not very long, the witch said, "Well, if you don't give it to me, you're going back down." And she let go of the rope, and he went right the way down with a smack to the bottom of the well. Ha, she said, you'll die down there. Won't take you long, and then I'll find another way of getting my blue light. Nice knowing ya. He didn't know what to do. And he thought, well, it wasn't much fun, life, once he'd stopped being a soldier and stopped being paid to kill people and fed. And it certainly wasn't much fun working for the witch, and it didn't seem like he was ever going to get away from working for the witch, so he might as well just curl up and die. You still alive? The witch said the next morning. Yes, I'm still alive. Good, but you're hungry. I'm starving. Yes, you are starving. Ha, starving to death. He found that he got a pipe and had a bit of tobacco left, and he thought, well, later that evening, as it was getting dark, he'd have a last smoke. But no sooner had he lit his pipe than a little mannequin appeared. Master, what are your commands? I am the servant of the blue light, said the mannequin. What? Master, what are your commands? I'm very hungry. Have you got anything to eat? And the mannequin gave him freshly baked bread and some roast meat, and he ate it. Having a drink? A flagon of beer. Well, you're a very good servant. Do you know the way out of here? And the mannequin removed some bricks from the wall of the well. And there was a little tunnel, and it was lined with gold. And they crawled through, and the soldier filled his pockets. And then the mannequin said, that way for the town. If you ever want me, just light your pipe from the blue lamp, and I'll be there to do your command. Well, he went to the city, and he took himself rooms in the finest hotel, and he dressed himself well. And whenever he needed money, he smoked his pipe, and he sent the mannequin back to the well to get some gold. And after he'd got a bit comfortable, he started to feel about, well, getting his revenge. So he went to the office of the Witchfinder General, and he reported a witch. And he led the Witchfinder and his men to the cottage, and he pointed it out from a distance. And the next day he saw the witch brought in bound. And then they did the test, the infallible test to know if someone is a witch. They threw her in the lake, for if she was a human, she would sink, but she was a witch and she floated. That was proof enough. They bound her to a stake and burnt her, and he gloated. And then he started to think about how badly he'd been treated by the king that he had served so well. And he summoned the mannequin and said, the king has a daughter. The Princess Elizabeth? Yes. When she is asleep, bring her to me, and she shall be my servant. I can do that for you, but be careful. What you wish for, no good will come of this. It is what I wish for. My master, you have a good life. You have everything that you need and more. Do not trouble yourself with things like this. No good. Just do what you're told, he said crossly. That night, the mannequin brought the princess, who had sort of half-closed eyes, but she did everything he told her to. She scrubbed on her hands and knees. She polished his boots, and he laughed and kicked her a few times. And at the end of the night, the mannequin took her back. The next morning, she was bruised and achy and felt that she hadn't slept and had had this very strange dream, and she told her father. I wonder if that was a dream or not, he said. And he kept watch the next night, but he fell asleep. But when he woke up, she wasn't there. And then he fell asleep, and then she was. So the next night, he filled her pockets with peas and made a little hole. But the mannequin spotted this ruse and scattered peas everywhere. So when they went to try and follow the line of peas, it went all over the place. And this carried on for quite a while, until one day she hid her shoe under his bed. And then there was a great search made. And the soldier, who, as I said, was not of the smartest, didn't manage to realize until it was too late. And then he ran away, forgetting to take the blue light. The soldier soon caught him and took him and threw him in jail, where he was tried and found guilty and sentenced to die at the stake the next day. Fortunately, he'd managed to hide one gold piece up his bottom, and he extracted it and used it to bribe his guard. Now, his guard actually had known him in the army and would probably have done it anyway, but it's always good to have a gold piece. And he went and he recovered this little blue light. And the next day, just before he was to be burned, he said to the king, "May I have one last wish?" "Well, what is it?" "I'm going to kill you today for what you did. I would just like to smoke my pipe." "You can smoke it 3 times. So he lit his pipe, and no sooner had he lit his pipe than the mannequin was there, clutching a club. "What does my master order?" said the mannequin. "Kill them all!" No sooner said than done. Then the mannequin with his club killed the king and the queen and all the court, but not the princess. And the soldier married the princess and had himself crowned king. Well, he was king, but I don't know how wise it was. Perhaps it also wasn't wise to marry the daughter of the people he'd just killed. The people weren't very happy, and his wife wasn't very happy. And perhaps it should be no surprise to hear that he was found dead in his bed not long afterwards. Night, night, everybody. Sweet dreams. Sleep well. I love you.